Hey, what's up? This is Parker Jameson from Starkill. We are at the Starkill studio and rehearsal space, and today we're going to be running through the gear that we use live. So, for starters, you can see our wall of Ibanez's. A lot of RGs, just because I prefer the upper fret access, and they're really easy to work on. All the guitars that I play are custom painted, and I refret them myself with stainless steel, ginormous, jumbo Jescar frets. I just find that by refretting it myself and having done a lot of refrets, I can get the action incredibly low, and I prefer steel frets because once they're set up, they're never going to wear out. I play DiMarzio pickups. These are deactivators. For our newest album, all the solos were tracked on the deactivator neck pickup, and all the rhythms were tracked with an Evolution bridge pickup, which is in this guitar. This was the guitar we used for all the rhythms on the album. This is identical to the previous guitar with the exception of the Evolution pickups. I changed all my toggles to 3-ways because I hate 5-way blades. And yeah, this is the DiMarzio Edge Zero. It's a pretty cool bridge. Another thing that I do to my guitars is I take a circular file and I file out the standard Ibanez trem arms and replace them with Floyd Rose ones because they're way cheaper and easier to replace if you lose them, and they just feel better. So after we tracked the album, where we used the Evolution for the rhythms and the deactivator for the neck, I built this guitar, which has each pickup that was used on the album just all into one. This is a Shaler Floyd Rose style trem, and yeah, it's a Proline V body, which they don't make anymore. Custom painted pearl white, and this is a neck from an RG370. Again, I refretted it with Jescars. We are playing in drop C. We use Ernie Ball strings. These are 9 to 46, which I know a lot of people are going to think is spaghetti, really loose, but it is. I don't fret really hard, and I just like the comfortability. Comfort. Another thing that I wanted to talk about on my guitars that I do to every guitar that I play is I change the nuts out. I used to play Carvin guitars, and I had 3 guitars that all had identical neck specs, but for some reason I noticed that one of them played better than the rest, and I couldn't figure it out. So I bought a pair of digital calipers, and I just started measuring everything on the guitars, and I noticed that on the guitar that I liked that played the best, the string spacing at the nut was very, very close together. And when I measured all my other Carvins, they were wider. So what I've started doing is anytime I buy a guitar, if it's a locking nut style guitar, I buy Shaler R2 nuts, which are 42mm nuts. Most Ibanez's and most floating trem guitars come with a 43mm nut, but that 1mm difference is super tangible and super noticeable. I just like having the strings really close together, so it's very effortless for me to do string skipping and stuff like that. So every guitar that you see here has a replacement 42mm nut. So for all my guitars, it's one volume. Even everything on the wall here, the tones are completely disconnected. Again, 3-way toggle, and I pretty much just keep everything cranked. We're gonna go over to Ampland over here, and we can talk a little bit about that type of stuff. We're all big fractal guys, mostly because they're hugely versatile, they don't weigh anything, and all of our channel switching is MIDI controlled, so we do play to a click track. We don't have pedals at all. These are all studio pedals, just different overdrives and stuff. But as far as our tone goes, we did a tone match of our 6505 through a Mesa cabinet with an E609 Sennheiser mic, and after we tracked that, we made the profile. So the live tones that you're hearing are like 99% identical to what we used on the album. So, like I said, it was all profiled off of our PV6505 Mesa cab, Sennheiser E609 mic, and that's all the rhythm tones. And the lead tones are actually that same setup, but when it comes time for our solos, the computer auto MIDI switches it, and the main difference is I'm carving out low end, high end, there's a bit of a low mid bump, all the delays are automated, and if you listen to our albums, sometimes we have pitch shift. I like to do octave doubles on a lot of my leads because it sounds like video game-esque music. Blind Guardian does a lot of pitch shifted stuff, so that's where I kind of got the idea from. So pretty much whenever the solos kick on, it's the EQ to tame the highs and the lows and bump the low mids. We have a ping pong stereo delay that automatically kicks in. And all of these effects are, again, automated through Reaper. We tried using Pro Tools, we tried using Cubase and Logic and other DAWs, and I know a lot of people like to shit all over Reaper because it's free, but it's the lightest DAW that we've used, and it's never crashed. It just never, it's always super reliable and super stable. So that handles all of the channel switching. And what's cool is when my leads kick in, it also takes Tony's rhythm guitar and does a like 4 millisecond delay and stereo widens it. So it sounds like there's two rhythm guitars playing. I know John Petrucci does that a lot of times on his rhythm guitars because he's one guitar player, even though they double track in the studio. So when it switches to my leads, it changes Tony's patch also to fill in the stereo width. Because our main goal here is we want our live show to sound almost identical to the album, which is why we tone match, which is why we automate and use all the same effects that we use in the studio. And what's cool is since everything is through Reaper and you can automate stuff through there as well, we do automate compression, different VSTs from like the Wave Suite and stuff, and all of that is also incorporated in our live sound. So we do use a lot of actual VSTs in the DAW in conjunction with the effects in the Axe effects. We do play in-tune picks. These are 1.14 Jazz 3s. We always do a bunch of ridiculous graphics. Got the Eminem guy. We got some Rick and Morty and SpongeBob picks. So that's more guitar stuff. For vocals, we use these AKG D40-400 mics. I bought these a long time ago before I knew anything about recording because you could get a 3-pack for like $100. And when we started putting our touring rig together, we tried 58s, 57s, Beta 57s, and when we tried these guys, the rejection was so good and they sounded so good, we just started using them. And if you go on eBay and try and buy these now, they're like $150 a piece. So they definitely went up in value. They are hypercardioid. They're awesome. They've taken a beating numerous times and are dope. Also, we use this little piece, which is taped to the mic. This is called an opto gate. These are probably the most important piece of gear to our vocal rig ever. It shoots an infrared beam out, and then there's like a receiver. So when the light hits your face, the receiver sees it and opens up the mic. So I have it set so if the mic is on my lips, the mic works. If I back off this much, completely mutes my vocals, which is good because we compress the living crap out of our vocals. I like super consistent vocals that don't do this all the time, and any volume changes that we want, we automate. So Reaper will automatically pull the faders down depending on whether I'm just singing or Tony and Sarah are singing. It'll all come down so that the vocal signal is just the same. So whether there's 3 people singing or 1 people singing, it's still a uniform volume. And having the opto gate allows us to crush the shit out of our vocals, and then the second we walk away, it's not going to take off because of cymbals or stuff. So that's pretty cool. As far as in-ears and wirelesses go, I don't have them yet, but we are switching over to the Sennheiser XSW or whatever it is for guitars. We were using the Line 6 G30s and G50s, but the range and the fact that the 2.4 gigahertz doesn't really go through walls super well was a turnoff for us, because we like to set up our rack preferably in the green room. I don't even want it to be on stage, so that when we're done playing, we just walk off and everything's already ready to go. So we're switching over to those systems. As far as ears go, we just use a mishmash of anything that's in the 500 band. We all have mono mixes just because it's easier to program. We use the Behringer X32 to route everything in. We feed that to front of house, and this also controls our ear mixes, which again, through Reaper, we EQ in the DAW. So we don't really care so much about the audio quality of the wirelesses or even our IEMs to an extent, because it's all being compressed, automated, and EQ'd in Reaper, like a studio session. I want it to be just like I'm in the studio on stage. I'm using cheap Shure 215 ears because they're replaceable, and again, since it's a mono mix and all I need to hear is the click, that's just how it goes. Another thing that we do that I know a lot of bands maybe don't is in each of our individual ear mixes, all I hear is the metronome, the album, and myself. I don't hear anything that anybody else is doing. We don't really interact with each other's mixes. So whether I'm practicing at home or on stage, it's the same thing in and out. Spencer just hears himself and the album in the click. Sarah just hears herself and the album in the click. So it makes staying tight really easy. Yeah, so if you want to hear more of our music, you can check out Starkill on facebook.com/Starkill or on Spotify. We have tour dates that are going to be announced. We're going to be out for all of April, so check up on that pretty soon. And yeah, thanks for checking it out.